Yo, Nic Peterson here with Brain Food. And we're going to talk about improving your brain performance and accelerating learning. Okay, now there's a few things to keep in mind here. The first is I'm going to introduce some new concepts. So you're going to want to go back and watch this again. And you're going to want to use the method I introduced. So I'm going to introduce a method. And then I want you to circle back around and watch this 7 or 8 minute video again using the method. And then let me know in the comments, Instagram, Facebook, hey, this was really effective. The second time around, I learned better. I understand how I'll learn quicker. This doesn't make any sense. Like, let me know. Give me feedback. Because I want to hear your wins. As you get better at learning and you're improve your brain performance and you start manifesting in real life, I want to hear about it, okay? Cool. So understand that there is a myth, this idea that learning is passive, that you sit and you consume and that is when learning happens. And that's kind of like saying you sit here and read how to ride a bike, or you read how to make a quiche, for those of you that are not good at the kitchen like me. And by reading a book and consuming this information, you actually have not learned how to do a thing. You've learned about how to do a thing, but you haven't learned how to do a thing. Okay? And so now we have a whole bunch of people that like to sit around and intellectualize and can't actually do anything because they haven't actually learned. Learning, brain performance is improved not by consuming but by creating. So I do believe I read a lot. I believe that leaders are readers. But there are some people that perform at a very high level and process things very quickly and are incredibly creative that don't consume that much information. And they still perform at a high level because they create consistently. So how do you learn something new? By being more active. This is what I want you to picture. Okay? Grab a pen, piece of paper, and draw a line right down the middle. Okay, a vertical line right down the middle. And on the left side, I want you to write what is being said. Not verbatim. It's not a good way to remember things, but what is being said. So on the left side, it might say, learning happens with action, because that's what I just said. And then on the right side, what does that mean for you? If I want to learn the guitar, I need to stop watching YouTube videos about the guitar and pick the damn thing up. Right, so as you're going through this video, as you're reading a book, as you're taking notes, and just as you're observing and being active instead of voyeuristic in life, this is how I separate things. So when things come in, I consume, and here is an idea. It means nothing to me until it hits that right side of the paper or in my head. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my employees? What does this mean for my clients? What does this mean for my girlfriend, my wife, my husband, my boyfriend, whatever you have, right? And that's the process you want to go through. Yes, it takes time, and this is a good thing. Because if you're going through this process all the time, you have to prioritize which information you're taking in and synthesizing. Because you can't take it all verbatim, right? You can't listen to what I'm saying, listen to a lecture, read a book, recontextualize it, ask questions without missing things. And forcing your brain to prioritize is actually extremely useful. Because word for word verbatim is the worst way to remember. Cool? 2, the other reason this method is great is it takes advantage of another phenomenon of the brain. Okay, study after study after study shows that we have this primacy and recency bias. We often remember the first and the most recent, right? And you know, in your everyday life, I'm sure you realize that you remember the first time you did something and the most recent time you did something. And we can take advantage of that. So if we have a 4-hour block of stuff we need to learn, and we sit down and we power through it in 4 or 5 hours, we have one instance of primacy and one instance of recency. And you're probably going to remember those bookends and struggle to fill in the gaps. However, if we take a break in between, even if it's to recontextualize, right? If we take every 90 minutes, we stop and say, well, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me? We have 3 or 4 instances of primacy and 3 or 4 instances of recency. So we're actually more likely, by breaking it up, to remember the whole much more accurately. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know. I'll expand upon it. I'm happy to get into all that stuff, share the research, that kind of thing. But one, you have to be a little more active. Don't just take it in, spit out something new using that information at the other end. 2, utilize breaks. Just utilize breaks. Your performance will skyrocket because of the bias towards primacy and recency. And 3, sleep. I'm going to talk about sleep a lot, but sleep is the performance enhancer for the brain. You can also utilize sleep like naps or not staying up later to cram, understanding the primacy and recency bias, right? So basically what I want you to do is look for opportunities every 50 to 90 minutes to take a break. And even if you just take a break and think about, what does everything I just consumed mean for me? Squeeze a nap in the middle of the day if you can. Get 8 hours of sleep. Do that. And then tell me what happens. Because your brain is going to start functioning at a very, very high level. If you can make that a habit every time you're ready to learn something. And the learning curve, you're going to accelerate so much. And it's something we'll talk about later too. Just as there's a learning curve, there's a forgetting curve. And we want to guard against that too. So we'll talk about that in another video. But be more active. Learning is not a passive sport. Chunk. Take advantage of the brain's bias for first and most recent. And protect your sleep. Hope you guys realize you just got hit with some really powerful and pragmatic stuff. Don't you think? I do. And if you agree, hit the thumbs up button below and like the video. Let me know in the comments what other videos you want to see, what you want me to expand upon, and what questions you have. And remember, all of this stuff is only as powerful as the actions you take in your execution, the practical applications you can derive from it. So let's see how quickly and effectively and efficiently you can master the things to come. You're going to get information here that's going to help you on your journey that you will not find anywhere else. So be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss one of these videos.